Let's talk a little bit about tuning the trombone and tuning the euphonium and or the tuba. In addition to the use of drones and things like that within your classroom, which I think are invaluable in training the young ear and getting it to hear things, doing some singing exercises and those sorts of things, trombone has a couple of specific things to work at. It is an instrument that can play in tune and will play in tune if the student's ear is good enough to hear what in tune is. So that's where the drones and those kinds of activities will come into play. But some things that student specifically needs to do, for example, if they're in front of a tuner, is to make sure they're making use of the slide back here. Lots of times kids, they just sort of pencil mark where that slide's going to be. It remains there from 6th grade through 8th grade, and they never once played a single note in tune unless it was purely by chance. So you want to make sure when you go through the tuning exercise that it's not just an activity that's gone through, suffered through, and done, but they actually identify with what is it I'm supposed to be doing here. The thing that they're going to do is play the note, but they can't necessarily just play the note. I think with trombones in particular, they've got to get to the note by going through it or to it. So for example, I will often have my trombonists work from F to the B flat. It might be a B flat drone I'm having them play. It might be a B flat that I want them to tune together with the rest of the band, but I'll have them go to it. The reason is the action of the slide leads the player to put it in a slightly different place each time, and that adds a variable that's different than, okay, everybody play B flat. They might even have their slide locked. They might not even move the slide, so they might be artificially tuning a position that they're never even going to be playing in. So make sure that the trombonist moves to the B flat or through the B flat and comes back to it. That way I think you'll get them to give you a more accurate representation of where their general pitch center is. Number two with trombone, as I said, once you find the general place of where their B flat is today, or their F, or whatever note it is you're going for, you're going to have to constantly stay on top of them that basically they have two tuning slides. One up here, and then this gigantic one that changes all these pitches for them. And getting them not to be married to, fourth position's always right here. That's not true. Fourth position sometimes is there, depending on the weather or who you're playing with, or how late you went to bed the night before. Everything changes pitch every time, and it's getting those trombonists to recognize, A, that's a truth that they're going to have to live with, and B, they actually can do something about it, is going to help you have trombones playing more in tune. Now you might think, well, if every trombone is moving their slide around all the time, nobody's going to play in tune. Maybe. But if everybody's ear gets to where it needs to be, those same trombonists who are moving around are telling you as the band director, they're thinking about pitch and they're trying to make it perfect, and that's what they ought to do. So they need to recognize that positions change, and being aware of what notes sound like note to note is going to be very important, as well as what your note sounds like next to your neighbors, or what the trombone sections sound like against the saxophones, for example. It's making sure they recognize that pitch is not a single one-time thing done in band class. That's an always thing, and as trombonists, they should adjust and move and use that giant tuning slide to help them stay in tune as much as possible. Okay, let's talk briefly about euphonium. As a valved instrument, it's a little bit different than a trombone. It's incapable of playing perfect intonation all the time without a certain amount of expertise of embouchure and air and mouth cavity, which a professional will use. For your young euphonium players, one important thing is getting them to recognize what tuning slides do what. Now on most euphoniums, beginner baritones, beginning tubas included, there will be at least 4 slides, if not 5. I'm playing a 4-valve euphonium here, so there's 5 slides on it. And it's getting them to recognize which one of these slides, out of all of them, is actually the main tuning slide. That's real easy for them to see, because it's going to be the one attached to the instrument when it goes into the actual cone. On the back of this euphonium here, you see 2 tuning slides, one here, and then one tucked in on the inside. And if you look very closely, you can see that this one here is really attached over here to the 4th valve. But with this one, it's coming out of the 4th valve, but then it immediately launches into this upper bow, down to the bottom bow, and out to the bell. This is the main tuning slide. It controls the overall length of the instrument and the overall size of the instrument. So every manufacturer puts these in a slightly different place, so you might want to check out your tubas and euphoniums in general and make sure you know where they're at. But once you get the student to know where that's at, let them adjust with the main tuning slide and not worry about the valves. For 6th graders, I don't fool around with tuning at all with the individual slides. I wait until they're 7th or 8th graders and then start checking some of those things out. Basically, you're going to want to tune the overall instrument to the fundamental of B flat, Fs. Find out where the horn is centered up best. From there, I move down chromatically and I choose the same overtones in 2nd valve, then 1st valve, then 1 and 2, and then 1 and 3 or 2 and 3, whichever you choose there. Or if it happens to have a 4th valve, I tune the 4th last. And so I might do a pattern with them working with a tuner or as a section against a drone, doing first of all getting those notes in tune with the tuner or with a drone. And then I simply move that down etc., as I go down the instrument. And if you notice one, for example, if I push my 1st in all the way, I might get a slightly higher pitch now, and that will tell you as the director and them as a student they need to get that 1st valve slide out a little bit. But just get them to, first of all, find the main slide and push in all the valve slides from there, and then work down the instrument and pull and adjust the valve slides where they need to so that they get an overall in tune and good sounding performance.